So for this project, I'll be using this Japan Surplus double-ended crochet hook. And if you're looking for a quality or branded crochet hook, you can check your nearest Japan Surplus store here in the Philippines. You can buy per piece of this. The cheapest would be 10 pesos to 30 pesos. So they sell it at a very cheap price, but the quality is just the same as just any classic. I think this is a classic Clover crochet hook, double-ended, and so you can see the writing is in Japanese. So if you're looking for a high quality one and affordable, you can check, because some of them, they even sell some yarns. So lastly, you will need some snap buttons, or just like this. I just removed this in one of my shirts that I bought at a thrift store. So I will recycle this one, and I'm gonna put it or sew it on this purse. So you can use whatever snap buttons you have in there. If you have these like fasteners, you can use them as well. This yarn is called Indophil 4-ply yarn. You can use whatever yarn that you have. It just has to be compatible with the hook that you're using. Like this particular yarn is fingering weight kind, and I'll be using a hook that is number 5. So now I'm going to make a magic ring. So to make a magic ring, all you need to do is to wrap it around your 2 fingers, and then put this working yarn here. Make sure that the working tail is in here. Now insert the hook, and then pull this working yarn, and then you chain 1 to bring up the yarn. So that is how you make the magic circle or magic ring. And then we're gonna work 6 single crochets into the ring. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Alright, so after pulling this yarn tail, you should have 6 single crochets in total, and then you're gonna finish off the round by slip stitching on top of the first single crochet made. So that's the end of round 1, in which we have a total of 6 single crochets. So make sure that you count this as your first stitch. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we're gonna chain 1, and this does not count as a stitch. We will just do that to start every round, just to bring up the yarn. So we're going to work an increase into every stitch, so meaning we're going to work 2 single crochets into every stitch around. So that's going to be 12 single crochets in total. So into this first stitch, we're going to work 2, and into every stitch around. So make sure that you count the total number of stitches before you close each round with a slip stitch on top of the very first stitch made. So when you find that your tension isn't tight, using your favorite hook, you might go down 1 hook size if you want. After doing the last stitch, and you should have a total of 12 stitches by the end of this round. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. So once you have 12 single crochets, you're then going to close the round by slip stitching on top of the first single crochet made. To make the flat circle, we will continue gradually working an increase, and to do that we're going to increase into every second stitch this time. So we're going to chain 1 and work 1 single crochet into that same spot. And then this time we will only do an increase into every second stitch. Now you may have questioned, especially for beginners, why is it that you only add an increase into every second this time? What if you do an increase into each round every time? If you do that, you won't get a flat circle, but you won't get a ruffled, lopsided circle instead. So make sure that you follow the pattern for making circle so that you will have a flat circle. Same goes when you're making a coaster. You will still follow the same pattern for making a flat circle, just like this. So it's easy when you get the hang of it. So for every circle that you make, the pattern is going to be the same, except when you're going to start with, of course, if you started with 8 instead of 6, then you're gonna have 2 single crochets into every stitch, and then into the third round, that's into every second stitch, but of course the number of stitches will be different. Now I have a table of the number of stitches that you need when you start with different amounts of foundation stitches for the circle pattern, and I will add the link in the description box just in case you'd like a bigger circle pattern with not just 6 single crochets on the first round, but more than that. So this is really useful, especially if you're working on a very big project and your foundation stitches will be more than 6. So you will see it on screen, or I will just add the link below if I couldn't find it. So if you started with 1 single crochet and then 2 single crochets into the next stitch, then into the last stitch you must have 2 single crochets. So you need to have a pair of 1 single crochet and 2 single crochets, so in order for your total amount of stitches to be correct. So on the first round we have 6, on the second round we have 12, and we're gonna add 6, so the total number of stitches around should be 12 plus 6, that will be 18. And then if we want to continue to have a flat circle, we need to add 6 more stitches again. So that means 18 plus 6, so that's gonna be 24, and on round 4 you should have 24 stitches around, and the pattern will be an increase into every third stitch. So it's easy to add an increase. After slip stitching to finish the round, you're gonna chain 1, work a single crochet into the same stitch, and then 1 single crochet into the next. So this time we're going to work an increase into every third stitch. So that is the sequence, and we will just follow that 1 1 2 1 1 2 until we get back around. Alright, so once you get back around, you should have an increase into the last stitch and then slip stitch on top of the first single crochet made. Okay, so now I'm on my final round, So the final round of increase, I will chain one single crochet in the very first stitch, keep working one single crochet into each of the next 2 more stitches, so we now have 3, and then into every 4th stitch, that is where we're gonna work our increase. So that is the sequence for this round. Just keep continuing working 3 individual single crochets and then increase until you get back around. Alright, so when you get to the last stitch, we're now going to close off by working a slip stitch on top of the first single crochet made, and we're done. We're just going to chain 1, fasten this off, and we'll make another one. So we finish this first circle, and then we're going to make another one. Once you have 2 pieces of the same size of this circle, so make sure that you have the same size. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have a total of 5 rounds. And then to close off the final round, you're gonna slip stitch. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to form the sides of this coin purse. So we're going to connect these 2 circles over here with a row of single crochets on back loop only. So that's what we're going to do next. I'm going to chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so after chaining 10, and you're going to connect the other circle, so making sure they are both facing the front side. So this would be the front side of these 2 circles, and then you're going to insert the hook into the front loop of the other circle. So we're going to slip stitch, chain 1, and then make sure that the front sides are facing you, and then we're gonna work a single crochet on the 3rd stitch. So that's where we did our slip stitch, and then we chained 1, so it's on the 3rd chain, and then we're going to work 1 single crochet into each stitch. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we're going to get to the next stitch. So this is the next stitch, and we're going to insert into the front loop and then work a slip stitch in there. So we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to work on the 3rd stitch from the top. You can see there on every 3rd, that's when you start working your single crochet back loop only. So I have 1, 2, 3 until you get to the last stitch. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the first and second rows, you have to make sure that they're not twisted, so otherwise you have to repeat. Right, so as you can see, this is the front side and the other one is on the front side too. So now we're going to, when we get to the next stitch, which is here, we're going to then put this yarn on the front like this. So make sure it's in the next stitch, which is here, and then that is where we're gonna work a slip stitch, and then we are going to keep working a row of 9 single crochets in total. So make sure it's on back loop only. 2. So I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So now, once you have 9 rows, so make sure that they are on the same front sides. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to insert into the next stitch, which is the front loop of this other circle, and then we're gonna work a slip stitch, chain 1, we turn, and then we keep on working a row of 9 single crochets on back loop only until we get to the other side. Okay, so this is what it looks like after you get to the other side, and you can choose how many stitches you're gonna leave behind for the opening of this coin purse. And once you have reached the other side, then it's time to, after slip stitching into the last stitch of this side, then you can go ahead and chain 1 and then cut off the yarn. So the next step would be weaving in the ends, and then we're going to add the flap or the cover for this coin purse. And so we're going to make the half oval for the cover. So to do that, we're going to make a slip knot, and then with the same size of hook, the number 5 hook, we're going to chain up to probably chain 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then we can just start measuring on this side in here, and make sure you don't do a lot of chains because it will get longer eventually. So starting from the second chain from hook, work a single crochet, work 1 single crochet into each stitch across for a total of 9 single crochets. After working your last single crochet into the last chain, now we're going to work another row of single crochets in the opposite side. On this last chain here, we're gonna work 2 more. So we're like working 3 single crochets on the very last chain. And this will make the curved side of this half oval shape flap for our coin purse. And then on the next available stitch, which is next to the 3 single crochets, that is where we're gonna work our single crochet. So 1 single crochet into each stitch until you get to the last row. Alright, so we're finally into the last stitch. There. And then we're gonna chain 1 and then turn. So on this side we'll make the edges, or we'll make the edge straight, and on the other side it's going to be curved. 1 single crochet into the same stitch as where we chained 1, of course. So that'll be our first single crochets on this row. Keep working 1 single crochet into each stitch. So when you get to the 3 single crochet in here, so you can turn this around and you can see there 1, 2, 3 single crochets. So that's where we're going to start working an increase. So into each of the 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3. So we're gonna work 2 single crochets into each stitch. So after doing an increase, we're back to working just 1 single crochet into each stitch until the end of this row. So we're working in rows and making this side straight and the other one curved. Now we're going to chain 1, we're going to turn, and then into the same stitch as where we chained 1. So this is the first stitch. Work 1 single crochet in there. Keep working 1 single crochet into each stitch. And then when we get to the first increase, or the 2 single crochets of the previous round, here, so we need to work 1 more. So this is the first increase that we have. So we're going to do a sequence pattern. So into the next, we're gonna work 1 single crochet into the next stitch, 2 single crochets, and we're gonna do that 2 more times. So meaning 1 here, 2 in the next, 1, and then 2 in the next. So that's the pattern for the increase that we're gonna make. So it's like working an increase into one of those 2 single crochets of the previous round, and then 2 single crochets in there. So we have a total of 3 increases, or 2 single crochets. So that will make the curve of the other end of this flap that we're making. So we're like making half circle, and we are adding an increase gradually, just like when we're creating or crocheting in circle pattern, but only on this other side. So chain 1, turn, and then we keep working 1 single crochet into each stitch across, and we'll add an increase into one of those two increases, or one of those two single crochets that we did or we have created previously. So you just need to locate the increase, and I think I can see it now in here. So we're going to work one single crochet in there, and I'm going to add an increase into the second of the two single crochets. So that's where I'm going to work an increase. So now, as you can see, we did the increase into every third. So we will just follow that pattern by working one single crochet into each of the next two, and then increase in the next, and then we'll just repeat it one more time. 1, 2, and 3. So remember, we only do an increase 3 times on this side. So the rest you will just work one single crochet into every stitch. So you can repeat the row and keep on working an increase on the other side to make it curved, and you can do that depending on the size that you need. So the longer you want, just chain up until you get the length, and make sure to add an allowance, because as you can see, we only chained 10, and on the second chain from hook we worked our first single crochet. That's why we have 9 as our foundation stitches, and then you can see that it's getting bigger. So if you're going to check the size now, it's longer there. So if the size is enough, now the next thing that we're gonna do is we're going to attach this flap to this back side of our coin purse. So make sure that you are going to chain 1 and then leave quite a long tail, probably 6 inches. Doesn't have to be very long, just enough. And then you will need a yarn needle. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to attach it. So you have 2 options. You either work a row of single crochets to join them, or if you want a smoother finish, you can just work a whip stitch, which is, I think, much better. I did the single crochets the first time, but it doesn't look good. Alright, so I haven't weaved in the ends yet. Maybe I'll do that later. So what we're going to do next is we're going to work a whip stitch. So I'm going to insert the needle into the first stitch in here. So make sure to secure into the first stitch there. And then into the next. So just keep working until you get to the other side. Alright, so this is what it looks like after attaching it, and now we're just going to tie this off. And this is what it looks like once you sew the snap button or whatever button that you have. And this one, I just took it out of the old shirts that I bought a few years ago because I love these snap buttons. That's why I kept them, and yeah, I found a way to use them now. So this is what it looks like. So you can use whatever yarn that you have. If it's a bit thicker, it's going to be stiffer like this one. So with this coin purse, I have used the Indophil 4-ply, which is really nice to use because it gives this coin purse some body. But you can always use whatever yarn of your choice. So you can make this as a souvenir. So anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, do not forget to hit like, comment if you have other suggestions that you'd like to see on my channel, and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.